Now let us start with the medial relations of the deep part of the gland. So for that we are going to write a little bit complicated diagram. Just follow the steps whatever I say. Okay. So now see, first we are going to write the cut section of the mandible. I'll just take this page which is broad. Okay. So first let us write the cut section of the mandible. So this is teeth, and now here this is the mandible. So this is the submandibular fossa. This is the mylohyoid line. This is the base of the mandible. And below the mandible what will be there? So we have already learned there will be hyoid bone here. So this is the hyoid bone. Then so we have cut the rest of the mandible. We have retained only a part of the mandible. This is the part of the mandible, submandibular fossa, alveolar margin bearing the teeth. So base of the mandible, and now this is the hyoid. Okay. So now let us draw the outline of the region first. So for that you are writing the two muscles here. So we could see taking origin from the mandible. So we could see the anterior belly of digastric. Then here posterior belly of digastric. And these two were connected by an intermediate tendon. They were connected by an intermediate tendon. Sorry. Just wait. So here, so these two were connected by an intermediate tendon. You can see here, which I have written in green color. Then, so I said taking origin from the hyoid, so reaching till the tongue. So we are going to draw the outline of tongue now. So here, this tongue, it gets connected to the mandible. So this is the outline of tongue. Okay. Now taking origin from the hyoid bone and in getting inserted to tongue was hyoglossus muscle, which I said the key muscle in the region. So now here this is, sorry, we'll use different color because all of them are so many muscles. So here this is your hyoglossus. So this quadrangular muscle whatever I have written here, so this is nothing but your hyoglossus. So it is taking origin from the hyoid bone and it is getting inserted to the side of the tongue. So this quadrangular muscle whatever I had, the outline I have written here, so this is nothing but your hyoglossus. Now, so just now I had told you people that the posterior belly of digastric, it gets accompanied by so stylohyoid always. So let us write the stylohyoid. So this is the stylohyoid. So this stylohyoid only it forms U-shaped sling for the digastric muscle. So this is your stylohyoid. Okay. Now where to write the submandibular salivary gland here. See, before we write the submandibular salivary gland, we have not written the key muscle in the region which is taking origin from the mylohyoid line and it is dividing the gland into superficial and deep part. So now this is mylohyoid line I said. So this is the base of the mandible. So from the mylohyoid line you draw mylohyoid muscle. This is the mylohyoid muscle, and now you know this mylohyoid muscle, it comes and gets inserted to the hyoid bone that we know. So these are the fibers of mylohyoid. So this is how we have seen actually. I have cut this mylohyoid muscle if you can see. You can see there I have cut this mylohyoid so that I can show you the deep part of the gland, because just now we discussed here that the deep part of the gland is below the hyoid. Okay, so that's why I have cut this mylohyoid, show you the deep part of the gland. Now I will write the outline of the submandibular salivary gland. So here this is the posterior pole, anterior pole, the connecting portion. So this is the anterior superficial part of the gland, or I can see vertical limb of J. So here are short limb of J, and now here this is the short limb of J, deep part of the gland. This is long limb of J, that is superficial part of the gland. I have made a dent here, if you can make out. So because it is very nearer to the mandible, so I can call this as the anterior pole of the submandibular salivary gland, because this is going behind, so towards the posterior belly of digastric, which is coming from mastoid. So I can call this as posterior pole of the gland. Just see here, I will just explain the extent only here. So anterior pole is almost reaching the anterior belly of digastric, anterior belly of digastric. Your posterior pole is reaching the posterior belly of digastric along with the stylohyoid muscle. So this is stylohyoid, this is posterior belly of digastric. So we will just label the structures here, whatever we have written. This is anterior belly of digastric, here stylohyoid, here posterior belly of digastric. This broad muscle what we have written here, hyoglossus. Okay, so now this is your submandibular gland. So this is superficial part, this is deep part. I can call this as anterior pole, and now this as posterior pole. This portion as posterior pole. Okay, so you can see here this green colored structure whatever I have written here. So this is nothing but your mylohyoid muscle. Mylohyoid muscle, this green colored structure. Okay, so now here you have seen the extent here. Only thing is we have cut the mandible. So till mylohyoid line we have brought down here the submandibular gland, because I said till the mylohyoid line it will be extending the submandibular gland will be extending till the mylohyoid line behind the mandible, I said. So superficial part of the gland, deep part of the gland, both are connected here, separated by mylohyoid, running on hyoglossus muscle, enclosed in between anterior belly of digastric anteriorly, posterior belly of digastric plus stylohyoid posteriorly, and above there will be mandible which we have cut. Okay, so now you got to know. So what are the muscles which are seen in this region plus the medial relations. So one medial relation, that is superficial part of medial relation, you have already seen here. So that is nothing but your mylohyoid. So for the superficial part, the medial relation is mylohyoid, that we have seen here. Now let us see what are the relations of this deep part. What are the relations of deep part? Now what are the relations of deep part? If you see here only, so there is hyoglossus muscle here, right? On this hyoglossus muscle, there are plenty of structures which are running here. Now, so to start with, we will start with the duct of the gland itself. See, this is the superficial part of the gland. This is the deep part of the gland. From the deep part of the gland, you can see a duct arising. Okay, so this duct of the submandibular salivary gland is otherwise called as Wharton's duct. So we know the duct of the parotid gland was called Stenson's duct, and now this duct is called as Wharton's duct. This is also around 5 centimeters in length, arising from the deep part of the gland, lying over the hyoglossus muscle, and now after traversing over the hyoglossus muscle, this comes in relation with the sublingual salivary gland, because you know it is below the tongue, it is called sublingual salivary gland. Then after that, this duct comes and opens here along the floor of the mouth below the tongue. Here you can see there is a projection here. This will be called as sublingual papilla. So on the summit of this sublingual papilla here, Wharton's duct, that is the duct of the submandibular gland, will be opening. Okay. So we got to know about one important structure which is lying over the hyoglossus, which is nothing but the duct of your submandibular salivary gland. That is nothing but your Wharton's duct. Now here one more green colored structure what I have written here is your sublingual salivary gland. This sublingual salivary gland, it opens into the floor of the mouth here. Okay, so through small ducts, these are called as ducts of Rivinus. Okay, maybe 18 to 20 number ducts of free venous through which the sublingual salivary gland will be opening. So we are not discussing much about sublingual salivary gland. Okay, so now this is about the, yes, submandibular duct. So that is nothing but your Wharton's duct, which also lies on this hyoglossus muscle. So now we have written the duct here. Now let us see one of the important structure which will be seen in relation with the duct. Okay, so this duct structure, you already saw this structure in the infratemporal fossa, which is one of the important branches from the, yes, posterior division of the mandibular nerve, because it comes here to supply the tongue. So hence the name lingual nerve. So lingual nerve coming here, it comes lateral to the duct, then after that winds around the lower border of the duct, then goes medially, then comes to supply the tongue. So comes from the infratemporal fossa, covers the duct from the lateral aspect, then goes medially, comes to supply the tongue. Okay, so that is nothing but your lingual nerve. When it is doing so, okay, so when it is doing so, your lingual nerve, it here suspends submandibular ganglion. See here I wrote something. If you can see here, I wrote two roots here. 1, 2, and then I wrote this round structure. Can you make out? So this is nothing but your submandibular ganglion, which is suspended by your lingual nerve. This I am not supposed to write in green color, just to show the difference I wrote. So there is one root coming from behind, there is one root going from front, but both are suspending the submandibular ganglion from the lingual nerve. This yellow colored structure is nothing but your lingual nerve. So this is nothing but your submandibular ganglion. Okay. So on the hyoglossus, what all you saw? You saw the lingual nerve. You saw the submandibular ganglion, which is suspended by this lingual nerve. Then you are seeing the, yes, the Wharton's duct, which is nothing but the gland of the submandibular salivary gland. Plus you are also seeing a part of the sublingual salivary gland here. Then let us see one more structure which comes here on this hyoglossus muscle. So on this hyoglossus muscle, there is one more nerve which is running here. So you can see I wrote one more nerve here. This nerve, it is accompanied by veins above and below. It will be accompanied by veins above and below. This nerve is nothing but your hypoglossal nerve. This nerve is nothing but your hypoglossal nerve. Okay, so from above downwards, if you see the structures which are related to hyoglossus muscle, 3 important structures are related to hyoglossus muscle along the superficial surface. Lingual nerve suspending the submandibular ganglion. You could see the Wharton's duct. Then now you are seeing the hypoglossal nerve, which are seen in relation with the veins. So because these veins are accompanying the hypoglossal nerve, these are otherwise called as venae committens hypoglossae. Okay, so this is hypoglossal nerve. Accompanying veins are venae committens hypoglossae, submandibular ganglion, lingual nerve, and now this is your submandibular duct. Now let us label one by one. So what is this nerve? Lingual nerve. Okay, so now what is this? Submandibular ganglion. Now what is this nerve? 12th cranial nerve, hypoglossal nerve. So these are nothing but venae committens hypoglossae. I have written the short form, venae committens hypoglossae. Okay, so these structures which are lying on the hyoglossus, they form the medial relation to your deep part of the, see, they are lying medial to this deep part of the submandibular salivary gland. So medial relations of deep part of salivary gland plus superficial part of salivary gland are, yes, hyoglossus muscle, lingual nerve, submandibular ganglion, hypoglossal nerve with venae committens hypoglossae from above downwards. So they are medial relation to deep part also, medial relation to superficial part also. For superficial part, you are also going to add one more muscle, that is nothing but your mylohyoid muscle. So these are the relations of your, yes, deep medial relations of your submandibular salivary gland. Okay, Now coming to the anterior pole is related to anterior belly of digastric, posterior pole is related to posterior belly of digastric along with the stylohyoid muscle. I have made a small dent here. Now what is this dent seen in relation with? Here you will see the facial artery. So facial artery grooves the posterior pole of your posterior pole of your submandibular salivary gland. So this is nothing but your facial artery. So facial artery grooves the posterior pole. So posterior pole I can say it is related to facial artery plus posterior belly of digastric and stylohyoid. Anterior pole it is related to anterior belly of digastric. Now we know between anterior belly of digastric and mylohyoid you have the mylohyoid nerve and vessels which pass through, right? So we have already seen this in the submental triangle. So I can write that mylohyoid nerve and vessels here. Mylohyoid nerve and vessels which are passing in between mylohyoid and anterior belly of digastric. So I have written that here. So mylohyoid nerve and vessels, they pass here. So they also form relation to your superficial part of the submandibular salivary gland. Okay, so we completed all the relations. These are medial relations. So then you can see here the anterior pole relation, posterior pole relation, superficial part medial relation, deep part medial relation, plus in the other diagram we had already studied about the lateral and inferior surface relations. Now let us stop here. Now I will discuss in the next video in detail the submandibular ganglion.